Rāgecchāsukhaduḥkhādi buddhau satyāṃ pravartate Suṣuptau nāsti tannāśe tasmādbuddhestu nātmanaḥ. Attachment, desire, pleasure, pain, etc. are perceived only when the intellect functions. In deep sleep, when the intellect is absent, they are too absent. Therefore, they belong to the mind alone and not to the Atman. Placing himself in the shoes of an objector, suppose someone asks, "You are asking me to take all my attention away from the things I like. What kind of life are you asking me to live?" Whatever you may say about desires, I feel very much that I am those desires. Is there any proof you can give of your statements apart from all these examples? All these are examples which you are giving are only similes. Where is the proof that this is so? These objections are to be expected. But a true Vedantin is rooted in sound logic and observation of life, without any bias. Here, in this verse, therefore, Shankara resists the temptation of giving a simile to answer the above doubt. Where do attachments, desires, and pleasures reside? We experience all these only as long as intellect or mind functions. As soon as the mind is not available, as in deep sleep, these tendencies, desires, attachments, and so on also cease. Is it no proof enough that they exist only in the mind and not the Atman? And therefore they cannot be the self? The logic of this verse is undeniable. It is simple and clear. The conclusion of Sri Shankara expects us to draw from it is that these are mental conditionings and we should not identify ourselves with them unless we don't mind being kicked about whichever way the mind goes. A monk cites a couple of examples for this verse. Though in the verse itself there is no simile or analogy, unlike the previous Atma Bodha verses. A buffalo is walking past as you cross the road. Buffaloes are always a nuisance to traffic, but you have no need to make that your problem, unless, of course, you somehow feel that you are that buffalo. That is what we are doing to the thought buffaloes of our mind. They are not me. We should just observe them and ignore them. But when we make them me, that is when we are asking for trouble. We see a boat, another example. We see a boat rocking in the water at the riverbank. After watching it for some time, We take over the rocking movement and feel as if we are rocking with it. Why? Because we have identified ourselves with that movement as though we are seated in that boat. There is, but the truth is that there is self within us that is steady and unflickering. It follows from the previous verse that the moon is never broken at all. It is the reflection in a mud-filled or in a dirty water on a vessel that moon appears to be broken into several pieces. Self does not follow the vagaries of the mind. It is stable and steady, silent and peaceful, desireless and unattached. Now, for this verse he thought, except for the last piece of a roar from the sage in the Ananda Kutir, he thought, let us travel to some of the smaller or bigger verses where this has been dealt. And this factor, mind and consciousness, has been dealt at least 100 or 200 times in the last 12 years of sessions, if not more. Then why to search in any text when you have been given enough on this subject? He spoke from the temple in Bhiwadi. He asked few sadhakas to visualize a scenario where a jiva and a jivan mukta both are seated with their eyes closed, apparently on a deep meditation. So, in this scenario, when an onlooker passes by and sees both of them, he cannot differentiate between the jiva and the mukta, because both of them are in meditation, both of them are in the same posture, and both faces radiate peace. Now, the creation throws in some disturbance and challenges these two as to how they are going to take them. The world throws challenges on us day in and day out, each hour of the day. Let us say, for example, some music is on, or some loud chanting is on over there. It has started. It was not there before. It has started. Or the fragrance of the movement of a woman is there. It could be anything which can be either seen or heard or smelled or touched. Now the jiva opens his eyes. His sanskara, his impressions about an earlier situation where he has seen or heard or felt similar thing once or many times or many times in his life. And what impression, what experience he got out of that. That impression gushes forth without his control. And the impression pushes him to either like that scene or that sound, or dislike such scene or sound as he would have felt before on earlier occasions. And thus, within no time, the like or the dislike, the attachment or the aversion takes over, and they dictate to his mind, and the mind becomes slave to such thought patterns of like or dislike. All these have happened within no time, not even a second, maybe. And now he is a slave, his mind is slave to the raga or dvesha, as explained. What happens to the Jivan Mukta, also seated there? He also has eyes, he also has ears, he also sees, he also hears, he can also smell the same thing which this Jiva sees or hears or smells. But there is no residue of vasanas left over, impressions left over within him. He has cleared all the vasanas without a ray, without a trace of any deposit of any impression of any kind whatsoever. So, there is some scene going on, or there is some sound heard, or there is some fragrance smelt, but the vahana or the vehicle carrying those sights or whatever is heard or smelled, the vehicle to carry the impressions of those things to his mind through the tires of likes or dislikes, that vehicle is totally absent for him, non-existing for him. There is no medium to carry the impact of anything which is happening in the creation before him, or which is being thrown into his ears, though the event might be happening far off. Thus, such events or such signs, they come in front of him, they exist for some seconds maybe, and then they pass away. like the analogy of the wave in the Ashtavakra Gita was where the waves in the lake of his mind, they come there, they try to exist, they try to touch his mind, they fail and they subside and they go away, they recede and they perish. He exists motionless, changeless, as an indivisible rock. And what? Some of you know what he is going to end this expression as per Chinmaya's expression in a commentary in the Viveka Chudamani. He exists rooted in consciousness, sthita prajna. To glimpse of such a motionless, changeless state, Shankara gives the example of deep sleep state because a human being, a spiritual seeker who has not yet got the glimpse of self, even such a seeker can easily correlate to those few nights in the past week or a month when he had deep sleep, and he can confirm and he can exclaim, yes, in my deep sleep the wagon of vasanas was totally absent. My mind also therefore was not active, nor was my intellect active. They were all at rest because the medium to arouse something in the mind or intellect, that was totally absent in my deep sleep. The experience he has in those deep sleep nights, which he can claim once he wakes up, that the experience was but Ananda due to the absence of agitation, absence of restlessness, or due to non-occurrence of any dream. Imagine million, trillion, infinite times more fulfilling is the Ananda one gets when one realizes self. That Atman, once he realizes, which has no attachment, no hatred, no pain, no pleasure, as per this verse. One thing we must be clear, sadhakas, be very clear today and forever and ever. Swami says, die mind. Die mind does not mean that there should not be mind. For establishing the Divine Life Society in Rishikesh, the ashram, and the hospital, the clinic, and the yoga center, etc., etc. Even the sage in the Ananda Kutir had to exercise his intellect and sometimes to plan normal things, normal routines for the ashram in the initial stage. He would have definitely applied even his mind. Thy mind, therefore, in the context of a Jivan Mukta means the dying or the drying of all vasanas in the mind lake of a Jivan Mukta. It is not the literal dying of mind. If the mind dies, that means he lives no more. Never should a sadhaka think that he has to transcend his mind totally, or there should be the dying literally of the mind faculty, and then only he shall attain self-realization. One more pour he gave to a sadhaka long ago. In continuation with the Dridrishya Viveka, first verse, in continuation with the oil and trace paper analogy he gives many times, he gave to the sadhaka. When consciousness is absorbed by the intellect, and then intellect reflects the same to the mind, senses, it is as if the mind is a lake, and in that lake, like the sunshine falls on that lake, the rays of the sunshine falls on the lake. Similarly, consciousness reflecting through the intellect spreads in the mind lake. Okay. At that very instant, it all depends due to the previous sanskaras, whether there is any dirt, whether any mud, there is any unwanted thing which is largely prevalent in that mind lake, or it is not prevailing there. Depending upon whether any dirt is there or not there, following the previous verse, the consciousness appears to be perverted. The consciousness appears to be impure or pure, depending upon whether the dirt is not there or not there. Whereas consciousness is always pure, always changeless, birthless, orderless. It depends what we have accumulated in the mind lake over our several past births, which are called our sanskaras, manifesting as vasanas. When anything in this creation is thrown to us, and suppose the mind lake is bereft of any such dirt, any such vasanas, trash of vasanas, then the reflected consciousness is as pure as absolute consciousness, he said to that sadhaka. Then such a jiva remains pure with his mind, never contaminated with any residual vasanas whatsoever. Atman is ever unattached, disassociated with the mind intellect and its functions, this verse says. And Maharaj rose. I am the son of suns, light of lights. Om, Om, Om. All purity I am. Om, Om, Om. All bliss I am. Om, Om, Om. All pervading consciousness I am. Om, Om, Om. Satchit Ananda Swarupa Poham. Om, Om, Om. Akhanda Ekarasa Chinmadroham. Om, Om, Om. Bhumananda Swarupoham. Om, Om, Om. Aham Sakshi. Om, Om, Om. Nirvishesha Chinmadroham. Om, Om, Om. And then the final expression which echoes the essence of this verse, Asangoham. I am unattached. Om, Om, Om. Hari Om.